What's up? It's your boy with the technical analysis of Arsi Harju, the gold medalist at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. I want to do technical analysis because I feel like he does a lot of really good things and some not as great things, but overall pretty solid thrower, as you'd have to be to win the Olympics. But I also want to do a video of him because one, I don't think he gets enough love for winning a gold medal, and two, because he does a lot of interesting things that I think could benefit a lot of throwers out there. So we'll get started. We'll just play this real quick, a couple times. Very smooth, really nice finish. Very simple technique. Alright, let's start breaking this down from the back. The first thing and the first interesting thing that I think he has that a lot of people don't is a pretty static start. Joachim Olsen was also known for this. He threw for Denmark. And I feel like this is very interesting because you don't see a lot of people at this kind of level do a static start. You may see Ryan Krauser a couple times on like his first throw just to get rhythm and technique, but he normally doesn't do a static start throughout the entire competition. I believe that start that helps him for a couple reasons. One, because he has a static start. He keeps his hip pretty level, so it's very easy for him to get over the left because he's already over the left. Basically, his weight's evenly distributed on both the right and left leg, so it's very easy to get over his left out of the back. And he's also pretty stacked. His knee, arm, he kind of dips in a little, just a little, with his left, which but I mean there's also a disadvantage to starting static. One, it probably will result in less rhythmic throws, and also you don't have enough momentum, so you have to be pretty strong on your left side to be able to turn out of this. Granted, he does get like a little momentum, like he does one like a teeny tiny bit. But you also have to be super strong and have a lot of groin mobility. You see how his right leg is still on the ground, and when it picks up is right there, and he's already turned this way. That takes a lot of groin and knee mobility and strength and ankle mobility as well. But I think it can also lead to more consistent throws if you are able to actually do this kind of start. But I also wanted to bring up a static start for training purposes. I feel like it's a very good way because to really feel your positions and stuff, because it doesn't allow you to cheat out of the back and use momentum and all this stuff. So you have to throw with really good solid technique out of the back in order to pull off a static start. So I think it's a good thing to do in training. Just like a non-reverse finish is a really good tool to use in training as well. And you can use it in comp as well, although it's rare nowadays, especially in shot put. Let's move on. So he's out of the back. The other thing he does is he does not get a very wide sweep. This was very much the style back then, because they in the 2000s and 90s, a lot of people did not believe in a wide sweep for a shorter thrower. They believed to use quickness and speed to their advantage by just getting down as fast as possible and moving everything a very short distance, so they go really fast and really smooth. So you see how he kind of dips his hip back, his left hip, just a little bit, and then stops that, and then gets his right sweep leg around. It's very narrow, and normally, unless you're really practiced at this, and I mean, I would say that this isn't even right or wrong. It's more of a preference thing and what style fits you. Some people will have a sweep leg all the way out here. Some people will have it the way he does. It's just a preference thing. It depends on body type, your strengths, your weaknesses, what feels comfortable for you. I will say that it can lead to everything turning faster, but it can also lead to your right leg landing really early in the middle and messing up the rest of your throw. But I think he has it very timed well. He has it timed very well out of the back, because what he does is his right hip raises. It's down there, and then it raises above the line, so he avoids his right foot landing too early and causing a whole bunch of problems in the finish. So if you're gonna do a very short sweep, I would recommend really practicing really throwing your right hip up in the middle, to really feel that. And the other thing I would also want to point out is this position right here. This is called the sprint phase. Both his feet are off the ground, and I think this is a really important thing that a lot of people overlook, just how important a sprint is. You don't even have to sprint that hard. You could even honestly just hop, or do a little hop forward out of the back with your left if you're a right-handed thrower, over the right if you're a left-handed thrower. You don't, for a beginner, I would practice first just getting just think about if you were gonna single leg jump over a little small hurdle. You do that same kind of feeling, but you do it forward instead of up. And then as you progress, you can start really working on getting a sprint and really accelerating and stuff. But for beginners, I think it's a good way. I think just thinking about jumping over a small hurdle, but in a forward motion instead of just up, I think is a really advantageous way to look at it. And it's a really easy way to think about doing it. And the reason why the sprint is so important is because if you don't sprint, you're going to land with too much weight over your right, because you'll land early. So it'll slow you down. And then when you have too much weight over your right, all you can do is go forward. And then you'll pick up your right leg way too soon, which will lead to a not powerful finish, and probably not even a clean release either, and a whole lot of other problems too. And leads to a lot of pressure on your right knee and ankle, which can lead to injury. But when you sprint like he does, which I think he does a very good job, he all his weight just stays over his right. Now he could turn his right foot a little more, as his left gets down, but does a really good job of holding his right side back until his left foot grounds. But the reason why the sprint's so important is because when you sprint correctly, you're able to land with enough weight over your right where all you have to do is just turn. And it will keep all your weight back, so then now you can use both legs to really get into the shot. And you'll save almost all your throws. And you'll reduce the risk for injury, and you'll just throw further. Because throwing off both legs rather than one leg is better. Just like you can probably squat more with both legs than you can with one leg. But one thing I do not like is that his foot is still facing towards the back of the ring, his right foot. I think it should be turned at least over here. Well, I mean, I should actually say I love his upper body position, but what I believe what could have improved his throw was just keeping his right foot turning while keeping this lower body the same, so that way he would create separation, and separation is when the lower body travels faster than the upper body, and it'll create a stretch reflex where it will shoot. Your body will naturally just uncoil and shoot forward naturally, so you don't have to muscle the finish. It'll just happen, and it'll make everything easier, and you'll be able to take more throws. Granted, he gets away with it because he still does stay back until his left grounds. And then he does turn. But what I really wanted to focus on, he does get off the right a little early. He's already off. But he's also almost done throwing. The shot's almost out of his hand. But what I really wanted to focus on, what I think he does extremely well, is his left side block. Let me redo that. His left side block. Now the block is two separate things. It's your upper body block and your lower body block. Most throwers can have a really strong left block, like lower body block, but what they lack is upper body. And I think the upper body block gets really overlooked because people equate it to pulling and all that. Well, most of the time it could be pulling, but also it could just be that your right and left shoulder are both just moving at the same time, which really slows down your release. Instead of just stopping your left leg and left arm. Now, obviously, it's not going to be perfect. Like, nobody like actually physically can just hold this position perfectly as the right shoots. Because then you would just stop in the air. And that's impossible. But the fact that, like, I mean, this is pretty much close to as perfect as you're going to get. It's already out of his hand by the time, like, his arm, like, his shoulder moves a little past it. Like, right here, basically, the next frame, this is one, oops, that's not one frame. That's one frame. It's out of his hand. And that's because he stopped all the momentum while his right transferred. The energy from his right side and his left side stopped. And all of it went into the right side. And sure, he's off the ground, but the left isn't. So he's able to really lay into it and really get really out on the shot. And he's not jumping or anything. He's really grounded. Well, like, he's not jumping. He's really just going forward while still, like, maintaining a really nice orbit up. But he has one of my favorite blocks. I mean, that's just a textbook position right there. And the other reason I've mentioned this in a couple other my videos, but a little cheat code of how to tell if you're watching filming yourself to tell if you actually hit a good block is if you're where your left grounds, when you reverse, if your right leg replaces where your left was, chances are you hit a pretty solid block. Because that means all your forces traveled in one direction. And that would really only happen if you hit a good block. If he over-rotated, his right would be like over here. If he under-rotated, his left would be over here. I mean, his right leg would be over here on his reverse. And if you're non-reversing, if you just step out of the ring in the direction of where you threw, chances are you also hit a pretty good block. But yeah, he's a really solid thrower, really solid. Consistent 20-meter plus. And also he won gold medalist. This is actually his gold medal throw. I forget how far he actually threw. But he beat Adam Nelson and John Godina, so two of the best shot putters in history. Granted, Adam Nelson was young here. But yeah, I think he did a lot of good things. Really, like, the only, like, thing I would change is keeping this right, like, really just holding this upper body position while keeping your hips and your lower body continuously moving. And I think he would, one, finish down the middle, and two, really just get way more of a snap at the finish. And I think that would have thrown, I think he would have thrown further. But anyway, I hope this helps, and see y'all next time.